YouTube and Facebook. We welcome y'all this morning to the service. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers that might be watching online, or all the mothers that are represented by their husbands and fathers. But we wish you a happy Mother's Day and hope it's the greatest ever. And this morning I'm sharing on a mother's heart and a mother's strength. And a man in Genesis, it talks about a man named his wife Eve because she was destined to become the mother of all living. And even though Eve ended up with a very rough reputation of one moment of disobedience, she still was the mother of all humanity. She birthed us. I don't know how many great grandmothers back she is, but she is our great probably 500 greats back grandmother, maybe more, maybe 1,000 generations. But mothers are essential not only because for humanity to be reproduced, but their guidance and their purpose and their heart and their strength is irreplaceable. It's irreplaceable. Abraham Lincoln quoted, "I remember my mother's prayers, and they have always followed me and have clung to me all my life." I thought that was really sweet, really precious, that he... Could you get my coffee? Excuse me. Thank you. No, this is... I'm sorry. But being a mother supersedes all other earthly jobs. I don't care if you're an astronaut. I don't care if you're the first woman, whatever, vice president or president or whatever. I don't care what job it is. Motherhood supersedes every single job. And having children is a responsibility of rearing good and ethical and responsible human beings is the biggest job anyone can embark upon. And there's all kinds of mothers. There's foster care mothers, there's adopted mothers, there's of course obviously birth mothers, but there's all kinds of people who step up into motherhood when they may or may not have birthed a child all their life, but they have a mother's heart. And they step up and become a mother because it's not always about that you were able to birth a baby. It's about your heart. So many adopted parents have adopted children. I mean, I'm sure it's in the multi-millions and millions of people that have taken on children. And it's with a mother's heart. It's a mother's heart. Now, I do believe some dads, I've seen some of it, I'm going to say they have adapted to a mother's heart. I don't say they become the mother, but they've made an adaptation and fathered somebody and mothered somebody whenever they've had to raise children. But I still think they're irreplaceable. I don't think a man can ever do the same job a mother can do. Mothers of baby boomers had a pretty straightforward role in motherhood until, I'm going to say, the late 60s and early 70s. I think motherhood back then was kind of just cut and dry. I mean, it was discipline, it was love, it was servanthood, It was sacrifice. Mothers sacrifice for their kids. They still do. I'm not saying it stopped or anything like that, but I'm just saying back then it was very honorable to separate your life from working and everything else. Being a mother was considered a high level position in those days, more so than now. I mean, what I'm saying is there's still a lot of emphasis that you've got to be something else better. But Jill and I both had mothers that pretty much were home mothers. My mother was strictly a home mother, and her mother pretty much was too. I don't ever remember anything that any place she ever worked except in the home. But she managed stuff. She managed rentals and things like that. And my mother did some stuff like that too. But they were mothers. They were home every day, could be every day, and then the 60s and 70s hit. And I'm going to be honest with you. I was a part of the transition. I was a part of that transition. I was a part of the rebellion. I was a part of the rebellion. I was a big part of it. I mean, when I say I was a big part of it, I went full hammer. I went full, and that rebellion shifted the nation. That rebellion. I mean, I repented of it too. Okay, and I got saved. But that rebellion was the first shift in our nation. It was the first big shift in our nation. The hippie movement, the 70s, the rebellion, the free sex, all the things that shifted everything that everybody had kind of held sacred up until that time. I mean, we did not do things because it was not appropriate. And then all of a sudden we did what we wanted to do, and so, like I said, I was a big part of that. And then the 70s and kind of accelerated, and then the 80s, and then the 90s. When it hit the 90s, it was pretty well anything goes. And now in the 2000s, it's anything goes, but what goes is not even real anymore. I mean, they're trying to get you to believe something. I mean, let's get real. They're trying to get you to believe a man can become a woman and a woman can become a man. And it can't happen. It can't happen. You are what God created you to be. And nothing's going to change it. You can use all the, pronouns you want. But nothing is going to change what God created.
Amen.
He created woman and man.
Amen.
And so that's how bizarre, though, the world has become. That's how amazing. Today, being a mother is a bigger challenge than it was then. I mean, I'm not saying they weren't challenged. They were. And many mothers went through really some hardships, like in the wars and things like that. But the challenge of raising a godly kid is at a high level now. It's tougher. Everything's working against you in the world. So everything's pushing and working against you. And so my message this morning is first of all to honor the mothers that are doing what God has called them to do. Sometimes the strength of motherhood is greater than natural laws of man. It's amazing how mothers rise up and take command of a situation when they need to take command. They may be passive, they may be docile, they may be not involved, but when someone comes to affect their child or infect their child, there's something that rises up in a mother that's you don't want to go against it. You don't want to go against it. Isaiah 66:13 says, as a mother tenderly comforts her child, so will I tenderly comfort you. He's comparing God being tender with us. And you will find comfort in Jerusalem. And in Psalms 139:13 it says, you form my innermost being, shaping my delicate inside and my intricate outside, and wove them all together in my mother's womb. In my mother's womb. You mothers, you've all been an incubator. An incubator from what God wove. Humanity, He wove that baby. He wove it. And you incubated it. And you carried it. And this is something no man can ever know anything really about. But you carried that child in you. That life was inside of you for those many, many months. And it's something that once it's there, it's impossible to not know it's there. It's impossible. I don't care if someone denies it's there or doesn't believe that it's there. It's there.